Get ready. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Start. Sir, the bill was referred by the Lok Sabha on the 15th November 1980 to a select committee of 15 members of the House. The select committee scrutinized the provisions of the bill with reference to the views expressed in various memoranda and representations in the matter from diverse sections of the public and submitted a unanimous report before the Lok Sabha on the 5th December. In the bill, as reported by the committee, two sets of amendments have been made in Clause 3 thereof, and the substantive provisions in Clause 4 have been modified, which I shall refer to later. The amended bill, as reported by the committee, was passed by the Lok Sabha without any further amendments on the 14th December. Sir, I shall now proceed to explain in brief the purpose of the bill, the salient features of the main provisions, and the amendments made by the Select Committee. As the House is aware, the Finance Acts of 1979 and 1980 have effected a change in the previous system of taxation of profits of companies and the dividends distributed by them. Previously, shareholders were given credit in their assessments on their dividend income for income tax at the rate applicable to companies, as it was deemed that the income tax paid by the company on the profits distributed by it was a payment on behalf of the shareholder. Under the revised scheme of taxation, this legal fiction has been abolished, and therefore shareholders are no more entitled to receive credit for the income tax paid by the company in respect of the profits distributed by it. Simultaneously, the rate of the tax payable by Indian companies and other companies who have made arrangements for the declaration of dividends in India has been reduced. Further, the tax based on excess dividends and wealth tax on companies have been abolished. It was expected that the reduction in taxes and the consequent increase in the distributable funds of companies, they would be declaring higher dividends both on their preference and ordinary shares. The government's intention in this behalf was clarified in the Finance Minister's speech in the Lok Sabha on the 20th April 1980. However, in the case of preference shareholders who according to their contracts are entitled to dividend at fixed rates, this expectation did not materialize. Some companies expressed their willingness to increase the preferential dividends, but they indicated that the practical difficulties in the way of declaring higher dividends on preference shares could only be removed by suitable legislation. In these circumstances, it became necessary to undertake this legislation. The bill provides for a minimum increase in the stipulated dividends on preference shares issued and subscribed for before 1st April 1960, leaving it again to individual companies to pay higher dividends by adopting the usual procedure in this matter. The quantum of increase as laid down in Clause 3 of the bill before its amendment by the Select Committee was 25% of the stipulated dividend on preference shares free of income tax, that is, shares on which dividend is payable without any reduction by the company for its own income tax, and 7% on shares the stipulated dividend on which is subject to a reduction by the company on account of its own income tax. The Select Committee have raised the quantum in the case of preference shares free of income tax from 25 to 30%, and consistently with this, they have also enhanced the rate of increase on preference shares. In recommending a further increase in preferential dividends, the Select Committee had to take into consideration two contrary views on the issue. In several representations, it was pleaded that the quantum of increase should be raised as high as 42%, whereas in some other representations, the view taken was that the increase already specified in the bill was adequate and that it should be left to the decision of the companies to pay any higher dividend. The Select Committee have gone into this matter carefully and have adopted a via media which reflects their awareness of the position that all companies may not have the same capacity for payment of larger dividends, and that the best course would be to lay down a minimum increase, leaving it to the discretion of companies to pay a higher dividend by following the usual procedure in the matter. I shall now proceed to certain other salient features of the bill. In regard to companies whose profits are only partly chargeable to tax, the rest being exempt, Clause 4 of the bill, as it stood before its amendment by the Select Committee, provided that such portion of the dividend which was attributable to the taxed profits of the company would be increased.